In the previous episode, we kicked off our Veneto adventure in Padova, a major city in the region 40 kilometers west of Venice. We walked around an enormous open-air market that only appears every Saturday at Palazzo della Ragione, one of Europe's largest city squares. But Padova has more than just a Saturday market, and we will begin our exploration of this city from an impressive church I passed by on my way to eat breakfast. Basilica di Sant'Antonio di Padova, or in English, the St. Anthony's Basilica. This is one of the most important pilgrimage sites for the Catholics worldwide, as this basilica houses the final resting place of a legendary and influential preacher of the Bible, Anthony of Padua. Ever heard of San Antonio, Texas? That city was named after this Anthony. Alright, enough talking. Why don't we go in and take a look?
Yeah, it turns out that inside the basilica you are not allowed to take pictures or record videos. Well, there are still some tourists decided that they're gonna take pictures. But for me, I do respect this kind of rules, and I understand that part of the reason is because this basilica is actually one of those pilgrimage destinations. Yeah, so if it says no pictures, normally generally speaking, I do respect. For me, it's a respect to the site itself, and in this case, it's also my way of paying respect to San Antonio.
The interior of the church was in typical Neo-Byzantine style, which you'll find in many other churches we'll be visiting in the Veneto region. What's different is that you see many pilgrims inside, touching the tomb of Anthony and asking for the Catholic saint's blessings. If you're not into that religious stuff, the basilica's exterior was impressive enough, and you'll find a rather peaceful courtyard for reflections, or, in my case, a place to take a break from all that walking around the enormous Palazzo della Ragione Saturday market. Afterwards, I headed towards Piazza delle Erbe, where we visited the night before.
As you can see, there is also an open-air market here, and I believe this one is more famous than the one right next to the Airbnb I'm staying at here in Padova. Okay, without further ado, let's go take a look.
This city square in the past was where verdicts on death row were executed, as it houses Palazzo della Ragione, which was once Padova's courthouse. At the same time, a market has also been thriving during the days when no one was executed. The market at the Piazza delle Erbe is both outdoors and indoors. Ha! Surprise! Who knew an old courthouse even has a section dedicated to vendors since when the building was first built? Maybe the court has moved away, but the market stalls are here to stay. It's apparently a good place to grab a quick bite, except I wasn't really that hungry at 11 o'clock in the morning. A short walking distance away is Piazza dei Signori, Padova's busiest city square. Not only does this place house another open-air market during the day, it also turns into something else in the evening. As for what that is, well, you'll find out when the time is right. Because on Saturdays, this open-air market will open till late. At around 12 o'clock, I went to Università di Padova, the University of Padova, for a guided visit.
So I'm right now at the University of Padua. Believe it or not, this is actually one of the oldest universities in the world, and it was founded in 1222. So I pre-booked a tour inside this university facility, and it also contains the very first department of anatomy in the history of humanity. And this is also, I believe, where Galileo used to teach as well.
The University of Padova is actually the second oldest university in Italy and was established by students from Italy and the world's oldest university, the University of Bologna. This university plays a significant role in forming modern academia, as it established the very first botanical garden for research purposes and the world's first department of anatomy. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to visit the UNESCO World Heritage Certified Botanical Garden, which is located right next to Palazzo della Valle. However, during this tour, I was able to see the world's very first anatomy theater, a place where students observe graphic details of anatomy, which you'll see as we explore this university together. The main complex where the anatomy theater is located is called Palazzo Bo. The current structure was built in 1493 and today it still houses the Rectorate and the Faculty of Law, one of the original faculties of the university when it was first founded in 1222. What's very impressive about touring Palazzo Bo is that even if you are not able to visit the complex in person, or you simply want to preview the tour, the University of Padova's website has a very detailed virtual tour of the complex. I'll leave the link to this virtual tour in the description box below. I know the virtual tour will be more helpful than me telling you all about Palazzo Bo. Still, why don't we quickly go through some of the important sites at Palazzo Bo? This is the Great Hall, the single most significant room you'll see at Palazzo Bo during this tour. This elegant hall was where Galileo once gave lectures to a full room of students on geometry and astronomy during his tenure at the University of Padova. In the next room, the Hall 40, you find the podium Galileo once stood during the lectures. Then came the world's very first anatomy theater. It was very dark inside, and you could only see it from the point of view of a dead body that was ready to be cut open. This model should demonstrate the best. The theater is rather small, and I was thinking, gosh, can you imagine being there on a very hot day with all that people 300 years ago in this room watching your teacher? Okay, it was too graphic to describe. Wonder where the bodies came from? Oh well, these were criminals charged with death penalty during the time of the Republic of Venice. Of course, time has changed. Anatomy-related studies have become relatively more ethical, and the environments of the classrooms have also improved a lot, and that's why this anatomy theater today is mostly preserved for campus tours rather than still being in use. In conclusion, the tour of Palazzo Bo could be a great activity to do in Padova, if shopping around Padova's open-air markets isn't really your thing. It was around lunchtime. I tried to visit a local restaurant that specializes in local Venetian food, but it was full and I was advised to return the same evening for dinner. So, I found a place popular with local students and had, yes, pizza. Since the restaurant was pretty close to Palazzo della Ragione, I decided to check out another church building nearby.
I'm pretty positive that tonight I'm gonna have a very good night of sleep. Right now I just feel really tired. And again, I still blame on all that Heineken I drank in Amsterdam yesterday. Even at today's lunch, I chose not to order any alcohol because I just didn't feel like it. So anyways, behind me, that's the church that's very close to the Airbnb I'm staying at, and I'm gonna go take a look.
Unlike Basilica di Sant'Antonio di Padova, you can take pictures inside this church building. Basilica di Santa Giustina is actually very similar to Basilica di Sant'Antonio. Okay, so now you got the idea of what the interior of Basilica di Sant'Antonio feels like. This impressive church building today was built on the site of a former monastery named after Justina, an early Catholic martyr and the patron saint of Padova. However, you realize that the building you see in front of you is a full-scale basilica rather than just a monastery. So what makes this church more significant than it appears to be?
Alright, so this church was quite interesting. Not only you can film and take photos in there, but also this is the cathedral dedicated to Luke. Luke is the author of one of the Gospels, and actually inside the church there is the alleged tomb of Luke in there as well. I have no idea how that got here, but I'm not even sure whether that's even the real one. This church is very interesting. I highly recommend it. And now we're on the way to the star attraction of Padova. This place is known as the Sistine Chapel of Padova.
Then the weather turned ugly as the afternoon thundering hit.
Well, it's pretty pathetic that it's raining really bad right now. And unfortunately, I just arrived at the place, well, not quite. It's actually just two trees right outside where I'm about to go. Scrovegni Chapel, so again, that's widely known as the Sistine Chapel of Padova. I think I just heard a thunder, so that means probably this rain is gonna end very soon. But the bottom line is, if it's already the scheduled time, then I probably have to run under this kind of weather anyways, because in order to visit this place, you have to book a time ahead, and I think you're only allowed to go in for like 10-15 minutes. So if you don't book it in advance, chances are when you get here, it might be full, as this is a really popular place, and of course you might not even be able to see it while in Padova.
And I was right. The rain did go away. Despite that, my clothing was all wet. Alright, let's check out the Scrovegni Chapel then. Like mentioned earlier, it was a very short visit, as all visits were timed to control the crowd in order to better protect this UNESCO World Heritage Site. What makes this chapel different from the Sistine Chapel is that photography without flash is allowed inside, which gave me the perfect opportunity to show you the masterpiece by Giotto, the godfather of fresco painting. Remember, Everything you see here was before the age of Michelangelo and Raphael in the 14th century during the Middle Ages. This work pretty much influenced many famous fresco paintings that came after it. The centerpiece of the fresco is the Last Judgment, which depicts the second coming of Christ and how the world will be judged by Jesus and his 12 apostles. The good and the faithful will be put in the line to be saved and go to heaven, like how it's painted on the left, whereas the sinners will be put to suffering and eventually devoured by demons, like painted on the right. The Scrovegni Chapel is definitely a must-see if you ever come to Padova. To be honest, the management should have made the duration of each visit a bit longer so visitors could have more time to closely examine Giotto's masterpiece. Oh well, the footages you see here are all I got from my visit, and could probably be the second best thing if the visit was rushed. At least this is like a second chance. On the way back to my Airbnb, I stopped by Duomo di Padova, Padova's main cathedral. Yeah, I know, this church doesn't look as impressive as the other two churches we visited earlier in this episode. However, it's the seat of the Diocese of Padova, which means it's very important. And its baptistry has a jaw-dropping interior that's kind of similar to what we saw inside the Scrovegni Chapel. Except I didn't get a chance to see it because the baptistry's ticket office already closed for the day.
Ti glorifichiamo, ti rendiamo grazie per la tua gloria immensa. Signore Dio, Re del cielo, Dio Padre onnipotente, Signore.
Maybe I'll save the baptistry for my next trip to Padova. But in return, I got more time to enjoy the site of Padova, often not featured on tourism brochures, rather than rushing every single commute from my accommodation to all important tourism sites around the city.
Alright, so now I am back, and as you can see, the market is actually still around. So I guess today must be one of the market days, whereas yesterday when I arrived, if you remember, this plaza was pretty empty. I guess I certainly picked the right day to tour the city. Of course, I feel real tired because of all the Heineken I drank in Amsterdam. But whatever. Now I've got a dinner reservation at a local restaurant that I wasn't able to go, but I did put my name down for dinner, so we'll find out how that place is.
I returned to the restaurant I wasn't able to dine at lunch for dinner. Trattoria della Giulia is a traditional place that serves local Venetian food. How traditional? Even their menu is handwritten. I had bigli con la natla, very thick pasta in duck sauce, polenta with meat, and a strawberry dessert. However, our food experience hasn't ended yet.
Alright, now I'm back at the Airbnb. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this ever since I was planning this trip. Yeah, folks, these are cherry tomatoes from Sicily, from the island of Sicily. I remember when I had those back when I was in Rome, it was mind-blowing. Definitely the best, the most delicious tomato I've ever tasted in my life. And I'm so glad I'm also able to find here in the local supermarket here in Padua. So to finish off tonight, I'm gonna do a food tasting of those amazing cherry tomatoes. I was washing them and I could smell the fragrant, tomatoey and fresh smell already. But anyways, I'm so pumped. Let's try it. This is the same thing I've been waiting for all these years. It's just absolutely amazing. If you remember those cherry tomatoes from Morocco, we had in France. Yeah, these are like more expensive than those, but I'm willing to pay for this. The ones from Morocco they're fantastic as well, don't get me wrong. Because in Canada, in the United States, we have those homegrown greenhouse cherry tomatoes too. It's not the same thing. It do not even taste the same. The texture is different. The amount of juiciness is different. And can you imagine if you put one of those into your cooking? When you're making pasta, when you're making pizza, it's gonna make a huge difference. I'm gonna have another one.
Our adventure of the Veneto region will continue. In the next episode, we'll be exploring another amazing city just a short train ride away from Padova. Where is this place? Oh well, why don't you follow me to the next episode?
So how iconic this is, the United States Capitol and the White House were actually designed based on this one.